top focus story this afternoon. A Pakistani court has again ordered the release of 2611 plotter Zakir Rehman Lakhvi from prison. Applications issued earlier to detain him for a third term have all been scrapped. The Pakistan government had last week cited various cases, including the Mumbai attacks, involvement in the abduction of an Afghani and the Supreme Court judgment. It is for the second time in 3 months that Pakistani courts have sided with the top Lashkar-e-Toiba commander. He had earlier received bail on the 18th of December, just 2 days after the dastardly attack on a Peshawar school. Haseeb Bhatti, the legal correspondent for Dawn News in Islamabad, now joins us on the phone line for more. Haseeb, thank you for speaking with Headlines today. What are the conditions under which the court has in fact granted Zakir Rehman Lakhvi bail?
The Islamabad High Court set aside detention order of Lakhvi issued by District Magistrate. Islamabad High Court also directed federal government to seek permission of court prior to registration of FIR against Lakhvi.
Right. Isn't it then the responsibility of the Pakistan government at this point in time to take all legal measures to ensure that Lakhvi doesn't come out of jail?
Yes, of course. Islamabad High Court, in 2 times before, Islamabad High Court set aside the detention order, but Supreme Court restored the detention order of Lakhvi and sentenced Islamabad High Court suspension order.
Right, and how is, you're saying that this is the third time. There has been a lot of back and forth. The first time, in fact, that the detention order was cancelled, which is 2 days, after the dastardly Peshawar attacks on your soil. How is the Pakistani media at this point in time viewing this development? Is there at all, any kind of public pressure on the government to quickly reverse this cancellation of detention?
देखिए, पाकिस्तानी मीडिया जो है वो तो उसी तरह की रिपोर्टिंग कर रहा है जो इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट कर रहा है, लेकिन पाकिस्तान की जो कोर्ट्स हैं, जो ख़ुसूसन इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट है, वहाँ पर जो जितना डॉक्यूमेंट्स पेश किए गए थे, जो भारत की जानिब से भिजवाए गए थे, उनको इन कैमरा भी देखा गया, ओपन कोर्ट में भी देखा गया, लेकिन हुकूमत पाकिस्तान ये चाहती है कि वो उनकी रिहाई न हो, लेकिन दूसरी जानिब कोर्ट के सामने जो डॉक्यूमेंट्स पेश की जाती हैं उस हवाले से उसके बाद उनकी ये दोबारा ऑर्डर हुए हैं.
All right, I'd like to go across to Hamid Gul, who's also joining us live from Pakistan. Thank you for speaking with Headlines today. Isn't it the responsibility, sir, at this point in time of the Pakistani government to take all legal measures to ensure that Lakhvi doesn't come out of jail? There's been a lot of back and forth on this case since December.
Well, it is a responsibility, but they have discharged their responsibility to the best of their ability. They've taken the matter to the court, they have incarcerated him, they have kept him in jail. But what should we do? Your system is also the same as our system. It is Anglo-Saxon legal system. And as Anglo-Saxon legal system provides a lot of loopholes. Even if one were to assume that Lakhvi is guilty, you have to prove it on the court, in the court of law. If it is not tenable, if it is not sustainable, because of the flimsy evidence that is available or insufficient evidence,
right,
then benefit of doubt goes to the accused. Because he is accused, he is not a convict. So far, he has not been convicted. So actually, your system is the same as our system.
Hamid Gul, I'd beg to differ on that point, sir, because there is overwhelming evidence against Zakir Rehman.
Here where I am sitting right now. So forgive me if it is not coming out, my voice is not coming out clearly. But what I want to tell you is that it is identical to Colonel Broad's case, who was involved in Samjhauta Express. And there have been so many years in which we don't know what happened to him. Perhaps he will be convicted or he will be let off because there will not be probably enough evidence against him. But there is something that neither the government nor the people of Pakistan can do anything about it because the guilty gets away. And it is not only restricted to Pakistan or India, it is also prevalent in America. If you remember, There was a footballer by the name of O.J. Simpson. He committed 2 murders, his wife and her paramour, but eventually he got away scot-free because he spent $60 million. So even if one was guilty, the fact is that the legal system is such, left over by the British, that we cannot really reach the conclusion. You have to prove it to the court, otherwise the court will not, otherwise it will be injustice.
So going forward, what according to you should be the strategy of your government to ensure that elements like Zakir Rehman Lakhvi are in fact kept behind bars?
You see, the world bodies will come round, the NGOs will start saying that this justice has not been done. Do you agree with the principle that justice has to be done? It has to be done even if 100 people get away and they are guilty, but if one is punished who's not guilty, then that law says, the Anglo-Saxon law says, then that means the law is not being implemented perfectly.
Right.
So the fact is that I don't know. I am nobody to comment on his guilt or his whatever he's doing was. What I'm simply saying is that you are shackled by the same law as we are shackled.
Right.
And therefore we have to live with this condition. Anyway, I think the Indian government made a very severe mistake right in the beginning. When Pakistan government had suggested that there should be a joint inquiry into this, India rejected this, and I think that was a crucial mistake. If it had been accepted, today Indians would also say, yes, we have not found any evidence, or that we have found enough evidence and we are prepared to prove it in the court of law. But it was rejected out of hand at that time, and I think that is now lingering on.
Right, Hamid Gul, former ISI chief there, thank you so much for speaking with Headlines today. Hamid Gul, they're making the point that had India agreed to a joint inquiry, perhaps that would have created more pressure. Of course, the allegation, the big allegation on the Pakistan government is that despite all the evidence that India has in fact submitted to Pakistan against Zakir Rehman Lakhvi, there is an allegation that that evidence has in fact not been presented in court properly. Also joining me with more details is my colleague Smita Sharma from the National Capital. Smita, despite overwhelming evidence that there is against Zakir Rehman Lakhvi, the mastermind of the 2008 Mumbai attack, once again, for the third time, he walks a free man on the streets of Pakistan. How is India viewing this development?
Well, as expected, along expected lines, Rishika, very harsh reactions, in fact, coming in there. Remember, for the first time around in December, immediately after those Peshawar attacks, those horrific attacks on innocent school children, it was the first time when Zakir Rehman Lakhvi, in fact, was given the bail, and he was all set to walk out of Diyala jail when the government really detained him under the maintenance of public order. And
right.
In fact, it was this MPO and this detention for the third time that was challenged this time around in the Islamabad High Court once again by Zakir Rehman Lakhvi, which was finally granted. But remember, even while in jail, we have seen all these reports emerge, not actually from the Western media, but even from media persons within Pakistan, that how Lakhvi really has had various sets of
right.
privileges while in prison, so including the use of mobile phones, TV sets to be able to meeting people.
Right.
So it shouldn't come as a surprise really, but clearly remember when this issue, of course, we saw it in Parliament, where Parliament passed a statement, in fact, condemning it when his detention was allowed for the, when his release, in fact, was allowed for the first time. But once again, we will see that reaction coming in as well, Rishika, from our parliamentarians who have already said that this is a critical issue that needs to be discussed in Parliament.
Right, absolutely, Smita. It's a critical issue. It's definitely going to blow up in the Parliament in the days to come. But I'd just like to draw your attention, to the fact that India has diplomatically reached out to Pakistan. Is the release of Zakir Rehman Lakhvi now going to put Indo-Pak relations back into the deep freeze?
Well, surely it is not going to be a relationship that is going to be easy anytime soon, Rishika. We just saw the Indian Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar travel to Islamabad recently. Of course, that was under a larger SAARC Yatra agenda. But Islamabad went ahead and said that the Yatra was really essentially to pick up the threads of the dialogue, when, which of course had been left when New Delhi had cancelled off that Foreign Secretary level talks in
right.
August of last year. And we are made to believe, in fact, that Mumbai attacks issue did figure in that conversation that Mr. Jaishankar had with his Pakistani counterpart, Mr. Aizaz Chaudhry, as well as, of course, the other top leadership in the country. So clearly, this is something which, moving forward, will not make the Indian government's job here much easy, because the opponents and the political opposition, of course, will be questioning that how is Pakistan rewarding the Indian government's intention to reach out to Pakistan once again.
Deputy Editor Smita Sharma, appreciate you joining us with those developments. It's the big story that we're tracking today. Pakistan High Court cancels the detention of 2611 Mastermind Zakir Rehman Lakhvi. Sharp reactions coming in from India, with the Ministry of Home Affairs taking this matter up with Pakistan very seriously, despite the overwhelming evidence that India continues to present to Pakistan. Zakir Rehman Lakhvi once again walks a free man on the streets of Pakistan. We're going to continue.